You're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. During the next hour, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning and welcome to Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation in the Archdiocese of Chicago. We are coming live. We're coming to you from Chicago. My name is Clarissa Alintera and I am your radio host this morning. I work in the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation as a ministry support coordinator and also the host of this informational program. And with me this morning is Father Don Nevins. How are you this morning, Father Don?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I can't believe that, summer has flown by, and I heard a lot of really good things about the masses that you were doing, and I thought, even though it was after the fact, I definitely still wanted to have you on our radio program just to talk about what that experience was like. But before we jump into that, can you tell our listeners a little bit about, your experience as a priest in the Archdiocese of Chicago, how long you've been around for, and a little bit about the community that you're in at St. Agnes of Bohemia?
Sure. I've been a priest for a long time. I think we're 46 years. We've been 46 years a priest. I have predominantly served in the Hispanic community. My first assignment as an associate was at St. Anne in Pilsen. I was also pastor at one point at St. Procopius in Pilsen, St. Francis of Assisi at Roosevelt and Halsted, and now it's 4 or 5 years as the director of ministry formation, the Department of Ministry Formation for the Archdiocese. So I lived at our major seminary in those years. And here at St. Agnes, we're in Little Village. Little Village is a wonderful area of the city, which a lot of people don't know much about. 26th Street is kind of the main drag coming through here. It's at one point before the pandemic, it was the second, the second greatest merchant area, or economic area of the city.
Really?
Only behind North Michigan Avenue. So it hit pretty hard with COVID, so we've had it's not quite as bustling as it was about 6 or 8 years ago, but still a very vibrant community. So
that's fantastic. I having lived in Chicago since 2010, I'm a transplant. I don't really know much about the area that you're speaking in terms of like Little Village, Pilsen, that area. But in the time that you've ministered there, I know this isn't one of the questions, but I feel strong in asking it. But, what are some of the changes that you've really seen in the community since you have, it sounds like a lot of your ministerial life has been rooted in the area, give or take, for 40 years. What are, 2 or 3 of the biggest changes that you've seen for that population and that community?
Well, I think in this particular area here in Little Village, I came here in 2008. Now, if you remember, 2008 was when the economy crashed. Many people were out of work. People who are usually on the lowest rungs of the scale are the first ones that are let go. So we had a lot of unemployment in this area. But I think at the same time, one of the things that was happening was that, Pilsen and Little Village have both always been, or not always, but for many, many, many years, been ports of entry for immigrants. Mm-hmm. In Pilsen, going back before the turn of the century, We were talking about, not only Germans and Italians and Greeks, but then later on, of many who were the Poles and finally the Hispanics coming into Pilsen. We think of Pilsen as a very Hispanic area, but until about 1960, 65, it was not a Hispanic area at all. It was a very ethnic area. Many parishes, each parish, there's a Lithuanian parish, a Czech parish, a Bohemian parish, a Slovenian parish, a Slovakian parish, let me see, what else? An Italian parish, an Irish parish. All of those were all in Pilsen, in one area which went from basically Hallstead to Western. So you're talking about 2 miles
Wow.
east-west and about a mile north-south. All those different communities were there. Little Village it was similar in a sense, mostly Eastern European. The change in becoming Hispanic was a little bit later, more toward the late 60s, early 70s, and has been a very, very Hispanic neighborhood, mostly Mexican, Mexican-American. One of the huge changes has been for both of these areas. They were ports of entry for immigrants, but immigration after 2008 or so, immigration really from Central America, especially Mexico and Central America, really came almost to a halt. Part of it was government regulations. Part of it was there was no jobs. Part of it was that people who were here were going back to Mexico because it was easier to live with family than to try to support themselves and get by with very little prospects for jobs here. So it's really been in the census between 2000 and 2010, and then we'll get the figures again for the 2020 census very soon, I'm sure. But both Pilsen and Little Village lost population and lost a lot of population. Pilsen was like 12,000, Little Village was about 7,000 in 2010, and I'm sure that has continued. So Pilsen becoming more a gentrified area. The millennials like to live fairly close to downtown and find those places where they can, where it's very convenient, where they don't need cars. And Pilsen is a wonderful area. Here it's been not so much gentrification as just that as the population gets older and there aren't immigrants coming in to replace them, that it's a community which is stable, but kind of losing population over the course of time. So
the history and the context in which you are kind of sharing the communities is really is wonderful and fascinating, and I appreciate you kind of setting us up, because I think that'll help in the next 40-ish minutes or so as we're kind of breaking open
Sure.
what's been happening there. So what we're going to do really right now is we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back.
Okay.
Do you have an old bicycle that's not being used? Consider donating it to Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project of Lake County. Skilled volunteers are refurbishing bicycles to make them safe and ready to be used by veterans to get to and from their new places of work. We also gratefully accept financial contributions that are used to purchase bike helmets and other safety accessories. Our veterans have faithfully served the United States, and now it is our privilege to serve them. For more information on the Veterans Bike Project of Lake County, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit.
And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Good morning, and we're back with Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation in the Archdiocese. And with me this morning is Father Don Nevins. He's coming to us from St. Agnes of Bohemia in the community of Little Village here in Chicago. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about, just about the communities in general of both Little Village and Pilsen, and kind of just setting the stage. One of the reason that Father Don came on and kind of accepted the invitation this morning was just to talk about some of the masses that you were doing in the summer in the community of Little Village. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about, how the idea came about and how long you'd been doing some of those masses for.
Sure. And let me put out a disclaimer in the beginning. I didn't start the masses. They preceded me, at least in Father Matt Foley's time, and maybe back to Bishop Mann's. I don't know how far back our kind of tradition of celebrating street masses during the summer goes. But part of the reason this year especially, and I was just interested to see that the little kind of announcement in between here with the Cardinal and with some of the priests there, welcoming people back. And one of the things, because I really wanted to push things this year a little bit more than even in previous years, because I remember there was we were the deans had gotten a video from, I think it was Catholic Leadership. And I remember viewing the video, and the title of it was, "What Happens If They Don't Come Back?" Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because I think we all kind of were hoping that once we could open the doors again, we could be celebrating masses without having restrictions or very few restrictions, that people would really come flocking back. And the question was, well, what happens if they don't? Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting question because his response was, it's the wrong question. The question shouldn't be what happens if they don't come back. The challenge should be, what do we need to do to bring people back? People become very comfortable, I think, in sitting down at home on a Sunday morning and maybe watching the Cardinal or maybe watching somebody else, a mass that they view, or maybe from, they could watch one of our masses. They could watch one from many different parishes that were live streaming masses. And it gets to be kind of a comfortable thing to do. And the question is, why would people not want to continue doing that? What would we offer that would be better? What would we offer that would make them want to come back? And so I think one of our ideas was to look this year and say, as we celebrate these street masses, we really need to get the word out that we're still celebrating the Masses, but then also invite people to come back, to say, okay, you are here now tonight. This is Tuesday, this is Thursday, but things are open in church. We really are wanting people to come back, and we'd like to extend the invitation. One of the things that we do, and our tradition has been, now we obviously didn't do them last year in 2020 because of the pandemic. You couldn't even have 50 people together outside. But one of the things that's been our tradition is so we do the Masses on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. On Monday and Wednesday evenings, the night before, we go to the same block where we're going to have the Mass. We have people go door to door, telling people about the Mass the next day, giving a little information about the parish, seeing if they maybe have some questions, if there's any, we find out about people who are taking care of a sick parent that they would like to have somebody bring communion to. We find about children, people have just moved into the area, they want to know something about the school. It becomes a good means for us to talk to people and to, in our own way, evangelize and try to tell people of things about the parish and invite them to come back. Now, this year was still pretty risky to go door to door and invite yourself into people's homes or even talk to people at the door. But what we did do was to go out the night before and at least leaflet, so you had a little flyer. We put it in their mailbox or in their door, and we have a lot of 3 flats, and so people would go, to each floor, and if the door was open, take it to each floor and take it up to just invite people to come to Mass the next evening. And then as we would always get there early, and so the Mass would be at 7 o'clock, but at 6 o'clock we'd start a rosary. And we'd always have a speaker system there. So as people are listening to people praying the rosary, they would be maybe a little invited to be able to, participate in the rosary. Maybe they want to come out themselves and pray the rosary with people. Then when the rosary was over, we'd start making announcements. We have a little bit of music that'd be going on just to tell people the Mass is going to start in 15 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it might be, just to kind of encourage people to come. And it's amazing. There are a lot of people that come. I would say we normally have between 80 and 150 sometimes people that will come. And one of the things we try to do is not just really invite people to come, but to invite people to come as a family. And at the end of the Masses, we'd always ask all the children to come up, and we'd ask a blessing on the children. I see your Father Jim here, my associate, blessing all of the children here, because in our community there's a lot of violence, and we want people to not only feel safe, but to be safe, and to know that we're praying for them. We want them to have a good summer. We want them to enjoy their time off. We want them to be able to go out to the parks or to out into the street and to be able to be safe, and that their parents be safe also. So so that's very much a part of our celebration as we do it. And then we have people will bring out things that they want to have blessed. So people always have another image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, or a statue, or a scapular, or water that they want to have blessed, or a crucifix, and just asking people to bring those out. We put them on a table. We do a blessing there for all of those articles that people have also, and it's a good way of just making a connection with people. Even as you see here, you see the picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and then underneath it, I'm not sure who that is, but we have 10 sectors, we call them, in the parish, and each of them are named after a particular saint. And so they'll have the image of that saint be kind of the patron of that particular area. And so it might be St. Augustine, it might be St. Pius, it might be St. Clare of Assisi. All of them have their own particular name and title. So, and we have their picture out there with Our Lady of Guadalupe. So
Do you mind? This is awesome. I want to hear more. We're going to take a quick break. You have a lot of good things, so we're going to come back in a little bit.
You just have to cut me off.
I'll cut you off.
Catholic Charities in Lake County provides a comprehensive range of social services supporting individuals, families, and older adults. These include crisis assistance, shelter, clothing, family support, counseling, legal assistance, primary health care, and specialized services for seniors and veterans. Grab-and-go meals and food pantries help those who are experiencing food insecurity. Plus, we have a diaper depot to support low-income families and their infants. If we can assist you or someone you know, please call Catholic Charities of Lake County at 847-782-4000. That's 847-782-4000.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
Good morning, and we're back with Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Joining me this morning is Father Don Nevins, and we were talking about the masses that happen on the streets of Little Village and kind of the sectors and the saints. One of the questions I had in all this that you're sharing with like setting up and the audio system and the flyers that are distributed, it seems like this would take a little bit of people power to kind of make sure that even as the masses themselves, are outside, just to kind of get people there. It sounds like there's quite an invitation from the parish to engage people in this whole process.
Right, and there is. That's a good point, because it does take some people power to be able to do this. One of the things this year was a little more difficult to get people who wanted to go out and the night before to pass out the leaflets, and I completely understand. It's still dangerous. It's still, you go to a house, you don't know who's going to answer the door, if anybody's going to answer the door, but our people were good. They were protecting themselves. They were making sure that they did this just by passing out the flyers and not necessarily meeting with people. And so there were fewer that did that, which meant that people had to take a little more time to get those flyers out. On the day of, it does take some organization. And we have a group called the Guadalupanos, so the kind of the Our Lady of Guadalupe Society, you might say, who coordinate the masses during the summer. We call it our summer parish mission, and what they do is so they will have a couple of people who will come to pick up things from church before Mass. So we have an actual table that somebody made that has to be taken apart every time we have Mass, which serves as the altar. Pick up just vestments and the missal and water and wine and hosts and things like that. So there are a couple of people that will do that, pick that up every time. We have at least one of our musicians will be responsible for the music that particular evening, which means they really need to come by and pick up the speaker and all the connections, all the cable you need, and the microphones and things like that, so that they can connect their guitar to the sound system. And you saw in that little video that you had there before, you saw Alma in the back there playing. She had her guitar and was playing for the Mass. And it does take a commitment. It really does. And I ask people to make a little more commitment this year, because we have, like I said, we have 10 sectors. And so we've always done 10 street masses during the summer. But this summer I thought it was important that we do maybe even a little bit more. And so what I suggested, and the Guadalupanos went along with it, I said, why don't we usually start about the second week of June. And so we're normally finished about the second or beginning of the third week of July. I said, how about if we extend them out to the rest of July, which meant, I think, 5 or 6 extra masses. And why don't we just put it out that anybody who would like to organize their block for one of those masses, that we'd be willing to do it. And so, well, sure enough, they were all snapped up. They were, so we did, I think, 15 masses instead of 10 this year. And what we obviously you need to have a host family that lives right there. We usually have set up the altar and stuff in the street right in front of their house, partially because we need to get power from their house. And so you need to be able to connect to electricity so that you can have the sound system working. And so people are very good. In the past, we've always had a little bit of kind of a gathering afterwards, where we'd have maybe some soda, some water, maybe some little munchies. Some people go much farther, and they'll have maybe tamales, or they'll have tostadas, or they'll have even some tacos that they're prepared for everybody that's there, anybody that wants to stay. This year we tried to keep it very simple. We didn't want people putting themselves at risk of distributing food or anything like that. And so it was basically very simple. It was usually just water and maybe a bag of chips or something. One of the groups went a little bit overboard, and we had tacos actually, and that was very nice. But for the most part, we extended the number this year just because we wanted to get to more areas of the parish, just to really invite people. Tell them about, you don't have to register to come to Mass anymore. You don't have to, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to sit in a particular part of the church. It also gives us a time to make announcements, even about the school, about registration for the school, about religious education, RCIA. We can bring all these things in, as well as more local things, which might have to do with, there was a small group here that was organizing a mural on a wall, remembering all of those of the neighborhood who have died of COVID, and getting some help on that, getting some information out about that. So it was really a way for us to kind of extend the information, word about the parish and from the parish to the community, and also a way for people just to get together and to feel okay about being around with some people that you haven't seen for a long time. And you live in the same block, but you don't even see people, So it's been a very healthy thing and a very good thing, I think, for us.
Well, let's go ahead and take another quick break, and we'll come right back.
Okay.
Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Catholic Charities has continued to respond to the needs of people who come to us for assistance. More than 850,000 meals and food parcels have been offered to those who are struggling with food insecurity. Over 108,000 homelessness prevention hotline calls have been answered. Over 22,000 people have received mental health services, and $2 million in financial assistance has been provided to keep people housed. If you or someone you know needs assistance, email us at gethelp@catholiccharities.net. That's gethelp@catholiccharities.net. Or call 312-655-7700. That's 312-655-7700. Before, during, and after COVID-19, Catholic Charities is here for you.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. Every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the Archdiocese of Chicago presents programming about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, and we're back with Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation, and we've been talking about the masses on the streets of a little village that happen every summer. And Father Don, I wanted to ask, in this past summer, one of the where specifically have you encountered Jesus in either preparing for these masses outdoors, or maybe in kind of the masses themselves? Like, is there a particular story or an image that you have with this, these past few months where it was very clear, Jesus was very present?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things I was thinking of is during the break there was, we had more masses this year than we've ever had, and I think this is the first year that we didn't get rained out of any of them. Thinking of all the rain we had in July.
Yeah.
We got so lucky. It was just one of those kind of providential or serendipitous things, where we had one time where it poured rain about a minute and a half after we finished. We actually had to get the speaker system underneath something to keep it dry because we were doing. But I think one of the things that, and it happens a number of times during the street masses, people that will come up to us afterwards and just say that they're so appreciative that we came to their neighborhood. It's like, our neighborhood isn't that large. I mean, you can walk from one end to the other in 15 minutes probably. But people, where you live is where you live, and so unless they make an effort to come to church, they kind of feel like they're kind of cut off from the church in some ways. And by going out, celebrating these masses, and it really is interesting because every once in a while, not so much this year, but in past years, we'll have moments where you're looking and these guys are gangbangers and they're kind of on the periphery, and they're just looking. They're not going to participate because they'd lose face, I suppose, if they did that. But they were just interested in what we were doing and what was going on, and that sometimes those initial inroads are going to make an impact later on. But I think it's very usual in some ways. For people to come up to us and say, I'm so glad you were here. I'm so glad you came here. Thank you for coming here. I had the opposite. A couple of years ago, we had a guy came out after Mass, and we had set up basically not exactly in front of his house, but in front of the neighbor that was going to let us tap into their electricity. And he was trying to do some work at home, and he informed me very early that he's an atheist. He did not believe in what we were doing. He was upset that we were in front of his house, and he hoped that we would never come back. So I thought, well, I guess that's the other side. I guess that's what we got to accept also, that not everybody's going to come out. But it is interesting, to see people that'll just sit on their stairs. They may not move from their stairs during the whole Mass, but they may come out and decide they're gonna come out and receive communion, and we'll have people in wheelchairs that are there, and it just is a wonderful thing to see people feel not only safe and comfortable, but who really want to be a part of what we're doing and what's going on in some of these Masses. So.
Do you have, that's beautiful. Like, I love both of those images and those stories. And I was wondering if there's a scripture passage that resonates with your heart, when it comes time to, your summer mission, or, the Masses on the street.
I don't know if it's as much as a scripture passage that comes to me, as more of the words of the Pope. When he talks about you got to be with the sheep, the pastor has to be with the sheep, and he talks about even how the church really has to go out, is what he keeps telling us over and over again. And I think this is just one of those examples where we really do have to go out. Jesus sends the apostles out, sends those 72 disciples out at that one point. And they come back all excited because they've seen things happen. They've seen people change. They've seen miracles take place. I think that's kind of what we see. And it's interesting to hear the Guadalupanos, because they're mainly concerned with organizing things, but people will come to them to talk to them because they somehow see them as very much a part of what's going on. And so people will come to them and say, like I said, once we made the offer that we would go to any of the blocks in the parish where we weren't already going to say a Mass and do a Mass, it was like that. There was probably the first day they had the rest of the Masses filled up, and they could give me a schedule of where we were going to be, because people just wanted to have a similar experience in front of their house, and for some of their neighbors. And maybe they were going to reach out to tell people about what they'd seen on another block, and they wanted to bring it to our block. And so it really is a kind of a beautiful thing, seeing the word spread person to person sometimes, because of what they've experienced, what they've been a part of.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take another break, and we'll come right back.
There is so much waiting for you at Catholic Charities Senior Services. We offer programs and services to help make the most of every day. Friendships and fun are guaranteed at our drop-in senior centers. Our adult daycare centers offer enjoyment and greater supervision to seniors who need it, while their caregivers get a break. Holy Family Villa provides a beautiful, safe environment for seniors looking for short or long-term residential facility. And we offer assistance with senior benefits, care coordination, congregate and home-delivered meals, hospital transition, and much more. For more than 100 years, we have accompanied seniors through every transition in their lives, and we are here for you now. Catholic Charities is a name and an agency you can trust. Call Senior Services today at 312-655-7700. That's 312-655-7700.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit. And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Good morning, and we're back with Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation. And we've been talking a little bit about the street masses in Little Village and the community that comes out, the blocks, the Guadalupanos. I've lived in Chicago for just over 10 years, and this is a story and something that I know happens, and this is the first time I've been able to kind of talk about it via at least my radio program, and so I'm honored. And a question I had, one of the things that you alluded to was, some of the violence that does, tend to occur, or that has happened, especially in the community of Little Village. But the question I had was, given the violence on the streets of Chicago, especially, in the summer months, and even in pockets like Little Village, how important is it that the church is present and even, like, I would say, unafraid to stand out there? Because as you just talked about in the last story, sometimes you can observe, young people who might look on the fringes of gangs, and yet the church is still standing and maybe even in solidarity.
And that has been a kind of a constant theme for our summer missions every summer. That an end to violence is one of the things that we pray for. And I mentioned before, we always bless the children at the end, and bless for their safety, and that they can enjoy the summer and not have to feel like they have to stay inside because it's too dangerous to go outside. And I think, I suppose when I first came here, I might have been a little fearful of what might happen, or if there was, if there were going to be gangbangers around, or would we be threatened, or things like that. But to tell you the truth, I don't even think about that anymore. It's I know we're going to say the masses. I know we have good relationships with people. The neighbors are there who are the ones inviting us. There are certain people that are always going to come, and it's always been peaceful. And I think one of the things we want to do is show that things don't have to be violent. Our community doesn't have to be looking at the kind of violence or feeling like you have to be afraid or you have to be protected all the time. That we can go out to do the kind of things we need to do and to not be afraid. And I think that's one of our keys. And as I said, we always wind up praying for the children and for peace in our community. It's older people as well, and who are concerned. I mean, they don't want to have to be constricted to their homes all the time just because they are afraid to go out or afraid of what might happen. And for the most part, one of the things we always, when you get the permit to close the street, you always have to go through the alderman's office. And the alderman is very good about informing the police department also. And so very often there will be a police presence at one or other end of the block. It's never really been something that has been a big issue. And maybe because they're present, it's not a big issue, but it is a kind of a security blanket in a sense for us to know that we are be able to celebrate. We can be there personally. We can be a part of things, and it can be a sign that our neighborhood doesn't have to be violent. You don't have to be afraid.
Or even, I imagine, especially given, the time that we've had during COVID, even as a sign of hope for people who, I imagine communities who've lost loved ones. We were talking about the mural of the people who have passed in COVID-19. And so you just even maybe that sign of hope that people need, that, there's people there praying and standing and just being together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, one of the things that we're very aware of here is that for about 2 months or so last year, our zip code was the worst in the state as far as COVID infections. I don't know if we were the worst in deaths, but I mean, we had a lot of COVID cases here and a lot of deaths. It would be kind of depressing because you'd hear these sirens and you begin to make the distinction between the ambulance sirens and the police or the fire sirens, and it's an ambulance, and it's somebody who was probably a COVID patient and probably has died. We were pretty hard hit. And so for people, I think that just makes it all the more important for us to be able to get out. It was important for us to get out this summer and be able to celebrate the masses again, to say that, yes, we're doing our best to protect ourselves, but it seems to be safe to come out and celebrate the Mass together outdoors, and to bring your family and to be with your neighbors, and to, as you saw there in some of those videos, you could see kind of people all over, and so some people are right in front of the altar. Many people are right in front of their homes, on the sidewalks, standing, sitting, kneeling, whatever they might be doing, just because they want to be there. And I think this year especially, it was important that we were able to provide the opportunity for people to get together, and even as 100 people to realize that this was a good opportunity to kind of make connections with people again and see people again. So
I thought that was really beautiful that you said, you basically it rained a lot in July. The fact that you didn't get rained on once, I'm like, how is that possible? Because I think it was raining, it felt like, I don't know, like 28 of the 31 days. So
that's right. And we just seem to have this time between about 6 and 8 where we got away with it. It would rain all day, and then we kind of said, are we going to say the Mass or not? Well, yeah, it looks like it's okay to get started. And shortly after we get finished, it would start to pour rain again. And so we were just really blessed. We really were. And we almost every year we will have at least one Mass rained out. And we usually reserve at least one extra day at the end of our 10 days, our 10 dates, just in case we have to do a makeup. This year we didn't have to do any makeups, so it was wonderful. We were really blessed. So
earlier you talked about Pope Francis talking about smelling like the sheep and kind of being among the people, and where else would you say in either church teaching, church document, or any other I love Pope Francis and I love his Pope quotes, would you say you turn to or you lean on, especially as as you're continuing to do some of these masses?
Well, I think the whole idea of mission, I mean, if we want to call ourselves disciples, and if we really think of who the disciples of Jesus were, they weren't just the ones that kind of tagged along and listened, but they were the ones that were sent out, and they were supposed to share the good news. I mean, that was part of the idea of being a disciple. And if and so for the disciples of Jesus, the 72 that were sent out that I mentioned from Scripture, but there were many others. And you think of even after the resurrection, how could people not be inspired and want to tell people about what they witnessed when they see Jesus? How could they want to keep that to themselves? Everybody wants to say something about it. And so I think for us, I think the whole idea, and we even call it our summer parish mission, that it really is meant to be not just to celebrate the Mass, but to reach out and to invite people, to let people know that we're coming, that we're going to be there the next day, but let them know a little bit about the parish too, and see, you've got small children, maybe you're thinking about the school, maybe you're thinking about religious education, maybe you need to even get the children baptized, and just to be able to tell people of how you go about that, or give them something in their hand where they can just read that and know it and feel like somebody cares, somebody cares about them.
I'm going to cut you off. We're going to take another
Okay.
break. We'll come right back.
Okay.
Do you have a gently used laptop or desktop computer that is gathering dust in your home? Consider donating to our Catholic Charities Veterans Computer Project. We will clean out your device, give it new software, and repurpose it for a veteran who is looking for employment. Your gift will make an incredible difference in a veteran's ability to find a job. Catholic Charities provides veteran services throughout Lake and suburban Cook counties, giving participants an array of professional and personal support. Our veterans have served our country, and it is our privilege to serve them. To learn more about Catholic Charities Veterans Services and the Veterans Computer Project, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
All right, and we're back with Lifelong Journey, a radio program hosted by the Office of Lifelong Faith Formation, and we've been talking to Father Don Nevins and talking about the street masses and Little Village, and right before we transitioned to break, Father Don, you were talking about, sometimes when you're doing these masses, it's an opportunity to really connect with families, especially if they've got young children, and maybe it's an invitation to either the school or the religious ed or even, sacraments, and is that a common story perhaps? People will come out to the mass and then say, oh, there's a church in the neighborhood, I need one of many sacraments or schools or something like that?
It's it'll probably be amazing to many people. It's not amazing to me anymore, but it's how many families will just wait and wait and wait before they baptize a child. I think I was probably baptized when I was a few weeks old, or maybe a couple of months old. But It's just so common to see people wait 3, 4, 5, 6 years before they baptize a child. And if someone goes to them and says, well, here's what we do, and I mean, we have baptisms on these days, and here's all you have to do to sign up for it, and all of a sudden it makes it like an invitation that people will all of a sudden say, well, maybe we should do something about this. Maybe this is now the time, or maybe we'll baptize both of our kids now, instead of waiting for another year to do one of them and then wait for another one. I think there are, it happens regularly. And we have one of our kind of a recruiter from the school will come to a lot of the masses, and she'll just say a little bit, and then be available afterwards for people who want to find out more about the school. And she'll tell them about scholarship possibilities. She'll tell them about aid that they can get. And if that's not a possibility, well, then here's religious ed, and it's important that you educate your children in the faith. And so, how are you going to do that? So, it gives us an opportunity to let people very informally ask questions, feel comfortable about doing it, and not feeling there's any pressure. So that's been helpful. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So we have just about 2 minutes left. For those people who are listening, watching, if they want to find out more about your parish, where can we find you? Website, social media, mass times, all that good stuff. Share it with us.
So so we do have the parish website, which what is it? It's I think it's St. Agnes-Central at archchicago.org, because in the past there had been other St. Agnes's, and it's not St. Agnes Bohemia, it's just St. Agnes-Central because we're on Central Park. So the website, you can get a lot of information there. The parish is located at basically 27th and Central Park here in Little Village. Central Park is 3600 West and right off of 26th Street. And so, as I said, 26th Street is a kind of a bustling Mexican merchant area. And so if you're coming down, you want to get some Mexican food, or you want to looking for supplies and things you want to get with a little taste of Mexico, especially as Mexican Independence Day is coming up, you may want to come by. And we have a lot of masses. Our Sunday schedule is 7:30, 9, 10:30, 12, 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
The 10:30 is in English. The 7:30 in the morning is bilingual. All the rest are in Spanish. So
that is quite a lot of masses, even in pandemic. The fact that I have the capacity and that there's people in the community who are desiring. I laughed because I was like, that's a lot. That's amazing though. That definitely keeps you busy. Father Don, it has been such a pleasure to have you on to talk about, the area of Little Village, the masses, and even the community. And it's really been a gift for me just to listen and witness in this way.
Well, very good. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure also. And maybe it'll give somebody in some parishes an opportunity to say something to their pastor about, why don't we try to do something like this? I mean, it's not that difficult. So it can be done. It can be done. So.
Thank you so much. This has been Lifelong Journey and Claire Saul Hintero. We look forward to catching up with you next month. In the meantime, have a good day.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.